Well, great. Thank you all for joining us. This is a session I'm calling Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Shared Interest Groups and Never Dared Ask. So thank you all for taking time out of this beautiful day to come and listen to us. I wanted to do a couple of quick introductions before we go too much further. Firstly, and somewhere on here, I hope, is Bruce Cohen, who is also the my co-coordinator. I don't know how many co's you can get in here for the shared interest groups, and he runs a couple of shared interest groups, a couple of SIGs himself. And when he is here, I hope he will raise his hand so that we can actually pin him down and show you a picture of him. I also wanted to introduce Andy Otterson to you, who is going to be kind of the wizard behind the screen on this for this show, and let me explain a little more about how this session is going to work. Basically, we've invited every leader of the various SIGs that we have to spend a few minutes talking about their SIG, and they will do what I call an elevator pitch, which is like a 2-minute introduction to what their SIG, their shared interest group, is all about. And then that should take about 20 minutes or so. And then after that, we will set up breakout rooms for each SIG. So that then if you're interested in a specific shared interest group, a specific SIG, you can go to that breakout room and get more information from the leader or the leaders of that SIG, and maybe meet some other people that are members of that SIG, so you get a bit of a flavor of what that group is like. So and then you can spend as much or as little time as you want in that breakout room. You can go to multiple breakout rooms, and Andy's going to tell us briefly how you can move from one breakout room to another. Maybe we should do that once we set up the breakout rooms. Is that the best time to do that, Andy, when we've actually got something on the screen that people can see? Does that make sense?
I would agree, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that then. And so I think the first thing to do is actually to talk about the individual shared interest groups. And I'm just going to go through these in kind of the order they're on the OLLI website, which Andy, I think, will put a link to where the shared interest group page is on the website, so you can see that. And I'm just going to go through that, and they're essentially in alphabetical order, as much as I could do that. So I think the first one I've got is absolute sound. So I don't know if the leader of one of the leaders from the shared sound is Lance on this call yet, or should we move on to another one first? It's hard for me to track who's here and who's not here.
I have not seen
Lance. Okay, so let me just move on to the next one and come back to Lance, if that's okay. So changing the culture of ageism, and I think Kat Kidd, you're going to be representing that group and talking about this particular SIG, if that's right?
Yes, that's right. So I'm Catherine Kidd, and Brian Harrison is actually the coordinator for this SIG, but he's playing golf today, so I'm sitting in for him. This is a SIG that got created out of the University Day that we had in August of 2019 on changing the culture of aging. And the group has been meeting since November of 2019. And in 2020, we really focused on healthcare issues. We decided on that before COVID happened. But it turned out to be a good thing. And so we've done a lot of advocacy around the program to create age-friendly healthcare systems, because we do not have age-friendly healthcare systems in the Berkshires. So if you want to learn more about that, you can come to the meeting or come to the breakout room. And this spring, we sponsored a series of 4 lectures all related to healthcare and aging. And we're planning a course for the fall. And we also work with Age-Friendly Berkshires and the Berkshire Regional Planning Council to try to keep that work on age-friendly communities going forward. And we're focused on healthcare and housing for the coming year.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine. That's Kate. That's great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And stick around for the breakout rooms, and you can talk to Kate in more detail about anything to do with this particular SIG. The next one I have on my list is the contemporary gender roles. And then let me see if Deborah Kane, if you want to say a few words about your SIG, that would be great. And then again, if anybody wants more information, can join that breakout room subsequently. Deborah, are you here? You need to unmute yourself wherever you are. Great.
Did that do it?
Yeah, that did it.
Okay. I think I have more than a few words, so I'll try to abbreviate it if I can. The gender SIG, as we call it, began a few years ago when my little granddaughter, who was then 8 years old, said, she was introduced me to her dolls, and she said, after about 7 dolls, she said, "This is my gay doll." And I was shocked. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not relating to the future that these kids are inheriting. They'll have a very different kind of society than I grew up with. And I'm closer to 90 than anything. And so I decided to start studying different gender roles for the future. And it led to founding a gender SIG, which was very small at the beginning. And we studied the differing roles of men and women in the family and in the workplace, and relationships of men and women, and in terms of working together. And then we went on to LGBTQ communities and try to study and investigate and be activists somewhat in support of LGBTQ communities. So that's where the gender SIG got started. It started, we used to have about 5 people meeting in my home, and then it grew. And right now we have about 17 people, some of which due to the Zooming, I think, but also a growing interest in all the issues that we discuss. Every morning I read a lot in the papers, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the New Yorker, whatever comes into my email, and I subscribe to a lot of newsletters here and abroad. And I forward to the SIG members immediately all these articles that I think are relevant to what we study. And they do respond and they read, and if they not interested or they're too busy, they dump them. There's no responsibility to read, it's offering. But it does unify us and draw us together. We meet once a month, the third Monday of every month, 12 months a year. I wish it was less, but that's the enthusiasm we have in our group. And at 2 o'clock to 3:30 on third Monday of every month. We have a wonderful group of people. We have one member of the gay community, Drew Herzig, who is a wonderful activist and has informed us on many, many issues, and is our go-to person for advice on these issues and for finding speakers. We did a few years ago, you may remember, sponsor a whole OLLI course on the Equal Rights Amendment. And it was well attended, and it gained me some very good members, which started the growth of the SIG, the immediate growth.
Deborah, I wonder if I can stop you, because I want to try and get time for everybody, and this is great. And I know that people have lots more questions, and they can maybe address those with you one-on-one in the breakout room afterward, if that's okay.
Thanks, Monica. It's more than okay. And I'm glad you interrupted me. And I look forward to talking to people in the chat room.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deborah. The next SIG that I have on my list is the Downhill Ski Group, which is probably not meeting at the moment. And that's also run by Bruce Cohen, who hasn't joined us yet. So I'm going to put that one on hold and come back to it along with the Absolute Sound, and move on to Chris Guidet to talk to us briefly about the foreign language film SIG, please, if he's still here. Chris, you there? Yes. Hey.
Yes, thank you, Monica. The foreign language film group kind of grew like topsy. I never dreamed that there were as many people interested in foreign films as it turns out there are in OLLI. We began back in 2019 with a showing of neorealism, a neorealism film, which kind of set the groundwork for many post-World War II Italian films. Then we went into hiatus during the pandemic because we couldn't all come together in a proscenium to see a film. And finally, we decided to join the rest of the world and do this by Zoom. So a couple of weeks ago, we did our first Zoom foreign film, Breathless, which drew about 80 or 90 viewers. And we are working on the next showing, which will probably be in about 5 to 6 weeks. Just a little bit about this particular shared interest group. It's not a study group or anything that's particularly heady. It's supposed to be interesting to people who are interested in foreign language films. And to that end, we do offer a period of discussion after the showing of the film, and those who wish to participate can stick around. Now, for people who already are in the attached to this SIG, you know that the only thing required to be a member of the SIG is to be a member of OLLI. But that's very important for this particular shared interest group, because the films we see are, even though they're not Hollywood films, they are commercial films, and we show them by right of being an educational organization, which means we don't have to pay a royalty or any other kind of a fee to show the film. In order to adhere to that requirement, everybody has to be in OLLI and be taking part in an educational organization. So we will check for that and require membership in OLLI to view the films. The other thing is we have, obviously, I don't, as co-chair of this shared interest group, I don't want to be the sole decider of what films we're going to see. I like to contribute ideas and I have my preferences, but with so many people involved, it's more than likely that there will be many, many more ideas, and I'm sure many better than the ones I would come up with. So we have created a steering committee of 5 or 6 people to meet on their own schedule and discuss potential future films, and then come up with 2 or 3 recommendations that the co-chairs of the shared group can look at and pick from. By the way, sorry I didn't mention my fellow co-chairs. One is Peter Bloom, who I think many of you know, and unfortunately, well, he's not playing golf, but he is putting up a shed in his backyard, and that work has consumed him, so he's missed this meeting. The other co-chair is Alex Nardacci, who, again, many of you may know more through the Berkshire International Club and through his Italian program, but he's also a first-rate movie buff and very knowledgeable about foreign films, and eager to be part of this. And unfortunately, he is not in this particular meeting, but I will talk to both of my co-chairs afterwards and make sure they know what we said. So there you have foreign interest, foreign language movies, discussion and participate. Oh, again, one more.
One more, because you're running out of time here, Chris. I'm going to have to stop putting people on stopwatches here.
We're on the 11th floor, Monica, and this is a a 56-story building, so I still.
Don't do this to me.
Now, see, now you made me, I told you we saw one movie we actually saw it at the Lee Library, which is way too small. Second film we saw through Zoom, and I am not a fan of looking at these movies on my computer or on an iPad by myself or with my wife here. If people want to see a movie on their own, on their iPad, they can get the movie from Netflix and they'll be all set. I think the idea of a shared, and I underscore shared interest group, is that we can all be together in a theater with no distractions, no dogs barking or anything else going on, and watch a movie in the proper way a movie should be seen. So we will be working to get either a auditorium at Berkshire Community College through the OLLI administration, or we also have been in discussion with the Berkshire Museum, which has a lovely auditorium that seats 250 people, and we'll try to schedule showing our films there. That's my two.
Yeah, I'm going to call time out, Chris, because really I don't want this whole. We really have to keep this to just a couple of minutes each, because otherwise we'll never get through all the
Sorry, I
fakes.
babbled on.
Okay, but no, I think it's great, and if people do have more questions,
Sure.
then we can talk. They'll talk to you one-on-one in the breakout rooms. And now I kind of have to. I'm now going to put on a different hat, because this is my Tour de France hat. This is my French Conversation SIG hat, because as well as being a SIG coordinator, I'm also the leader of the French Conversation SIG, which is kind of how I got involved in this whole thing in the first place. So that'll teach me to volunteer. What can I say? For my sins, I spent several years in France in my misspent youth, so I speak a little bit of French. And I was very anxious to keep my hand in when we moved here to the Berkshires. And that's how the French Conversation SIG grew up. We used to meet usually in coffee shops all around the Berkshires. Now we meet on Zoom, and we'll figure a way going forward, some mix of online and in-person meetings going forward. You don't have to be fluent in French to be in the French SIG. You do have to be able to speak some French, otherwise there's really not much point in being in a conversation group. But just a willingness to listen to French, talk about things French, be a bit of a Francophile as well as a Francophone. And that's really the French Conversation SIG in a nutshell. When we go to the breakout rooms, Steve Gleason, who was one of the original members of the French SIG, will be figuratively wearing my Tour de France hat. And he will be there in the French SIG breakout room to lead the conversation with that group. So I can take this hat off now and go back to being a coordinator. And the next SIG I have on my list is a brand new SIG. It hasn't had a meeting yet, but it has one scheduled for next month. Sheila McKenna has just started a SIG on the New York bestsellers books, and it's called Gotta Read. And she is somewhere on this call, and hopefully she can tell us all about it. She's in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island, so yay, go for it, Sheila.
Yes, I'm at the wharf in Newport in front of a boat that's about to pull out, I think, of the harbor. It's very exciting. Yeah, I'm here with my cousins for lunch. I'm starting a group called Gotta Reads. I'm the kind of person that is in the middle of a good book. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and you think, all right, just the next chapter. I have a passion about reading and sharing it and finding out that everyone else is so much smarter and has such better insights that I want to hear about their experiences. And I want to get the juice of their mind and have some fun. And so we're going to begin with that incredible book, American Dirt. And I think if you read that book of such great beauty and pain, but surpassing love, that you will want to come the following week, the following month. So we're going to start on June 17th at 4 o'clock. Wine is optional, but whining is not. And I hope you have a great time and join us. And I look forward to meeting a lot of wonderful people and mostly hearing their ideas and hearing their suggestions for other books that we'll pursue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for joining us and for showing us that wonderful picture of the seaside.
Yeah, here's the boat.
Ah,
Can you see it?
no,
it is.
mostly I can see an umbrella, but that's okay. Oh yeah,
Pretty nice, huh?
ah, fantastic. Let's
Okay.
have the other half live, huh? All righty, the next group that I have on my list are the Happy Needlers and Hookers, the Needlework group, and there are two co-chairs for this group, Carol Sabat and Carolyn Vandervoort, and I don't know which one of them or both of them want to talk a little bit about their group. It's a group that's just getting relaunched again, that it kind of went into a bit of hiatus during COVID, but we're looking at ways of getting this group started up again. And I think they've got some great ideas. Carol and Carolyn, I don't know if you're there and can talk to us. I've still got Sheila on my, let's, Andy, I don't know if you can highlight either Carol or Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Carolyn will talk.
Carolyn will do the talking, okay.
Carolyn, okay. Okay, as the title suggests, Happy Needlers and Hookers, we not only do knitting, we do needlepoint, there's people doing felting and whatever projects people like to do, where they're all welcome. We would meet, we've been doing this for about 2 years before COVID hit, and we met at the Lenox Community Center every 2 weeks, and we'd go from 1 to 2:30. And so it was a very, a lot of conversation besides knitting and problems with whatever projects we were working on. We talked about everything. It was just a very good social event. We talk about restaurants and where to do this and where to do that. And it was, you know, it's just a lot of fun group. And then COVID hit, and so we didn't do it. Now, we've never done the summer times. People are just not interested in going to the community center and doing that in the summertime because they have so many other things to do. They want to do gardening, they have plays, all sorts of things. So we would always cancel it for the summertime. And I sent out an email and I asked people what their opinion was, and it was unanimous that people said, no, let's do it in the fall again. So anyway,
in the
we will
meantime,
resume
one of the
it.
things I've in the process of working on, and I'm talking to Ray in the OLLI office, is getting allowing people to send photographs of maybe projects they've done in the last year and putting them on your webpage. So there'll be something there to keep people amused over the summer.
Right. And another thing that I would like to start doing is if people wanted to start doing, I wanted to start the project for chemo caps, knitting chemo caps or crocheting for the chemo center at Hillcrest. And people can do that, you know, at home in the summertime while they're watching TV. And they don't have to, you know, as long as they're home in the evening anyway, it's, you know, they could be doing that. And then when we get back in the fall, we could collect all these caps if people make them during the summer and bring them to Hillcrest for the chemo patients.
Right.
And there's all kinds of, if you go on Ravelry and look up chemo caps, there's hundreds of choices of things that you can do. And it's a nice project if anyone's interested in doing that. So
thank you. And when we have the breakout rooms, then maybe people can get more details of where they can get the patterns and things again from you.
Great. Okay. Sounds good.
In more detail. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Okay.
Next on my list is the Murder, Mystery and Mayhem book group. And I also want to take this opportunity to introduce Bruce Cohen, who is the co-coordinator with me of the SIG groups. And he was outside enjoying himself on this lovely day. I don't know. And he forgot about the meeting, but here he is. And so as well as doing the Murder Mystery book group leadership, he also he's very busy because he's also a leader of the downhill ski group. And like I said, my co-chair. So Bruce, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, hi. I think I really have to apologize to everybody. I've been pretty involved in setting up this meeting, and I believe that the SIGs are sort of the hidden jewel in OLLI, and then it was such a pretty day. I just went out and I got corralled and raced home. So my apologies to everybody. I'll try to make it quick though. The Murder, Mystery and Mayhem has been going on for several years. There's about 25 to 30 members. We meet typically on the fourth Monday of every month, and the books are selected for the year in advance by Carol Sabat, who I characterize as a great reader. I would not call myself a great reader, but I do what I'm told. So I read at least 12 books a year, and I'm going to join the New York Times book club too, because it forces me to do things that I should be doing in any case. Anyway, we meet once a month. The books are pre-selected. They're not typically not current books. They're books that have won acclaim over the last few decades even. And we read them and we discuss them. The meetings are about an hour and a half, but typically after about 45 minutes or an hour, we end up talking about other things we're reading, series that we're watching on TV, and it's quite amenable to everyone. It's been on Zoom for the last several months. We have our next meeting, oddly, just because the summer starts to be crazy, on June 7th. And maybe we'll have that in person if everybody's vaccinated. That seems to be the desire of the group. Before the Zoom world took over, we met once a month in somebody's home, and it was quite enjoyable to meet. And again, typically there were 12 to 15 people who would come, but there's about 25 on the list. And the more the merrier. And so it's been really a terrific education for me. On the downhill skiing, obviously that's not happening now, but even through the pandemic, there's about 20 some people on the mailing list. And we ended up meeting pretty much every Friday morning at Butternut. And we skied for 2.5 hours. And there usually was 6, 7, 8 people, all pretty comparable skiers, good skiers, not great skiers, but people who enjoy skiing with other people. And we'd ski pretty much everything at Butternut. And from time to time in the past, we've gone to Jiminy Peak or even taken day trips up to Stratton or Akimo or other snow. And maybe we'll resume that this year. So it's a mix on the skiing of about 50% women, 50% men. And we really enjoy being with each other at least once a week, but typically we end up skiing once or twice, sort of catch as catch can during the week as well. So this year, oddly, even though there wasn't a lot of snow, I was probably able to ski maybe 20 times during the year, most of the time with other members of OLLI, a couple of times alone. So it's a good group and we enjoy ourselves, but there'll probably be an email sent out to everybody around Thanksgiving, and we'll try to get together face to face just to get to know each other and chat. But other than that, most of it is done through email, and it's been good. So that's it.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. my next, and Lance, I know you joined us late. I'm going to come back to the absolute sound when I get to the end of the list, if that's okay. So the next person on my list is the play reading SIG, and that'll be Barbara Waldinger and Carol Fisher. And I don't know which one of you wants to be the spokesperson for this. You can, Barbara, are you going to be doing the talking for this?
I believe Barbara is going to, I have a few words at the end, but I believe Barbara is going to present some information.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm
Go for
Barbara Waldinger, and I lead the Play Reading SIG with Carol Fisher. We meet twice a month on Friday afternoons for 2 hours from 3 to 5. At the moment we're on Zoom. Each month we choose a different play to read, and we discuss it over 2 sessions. Plays can be selected by the leaders or by members, and members are all encouraged to present them to the group. A description of how to prepare plays for discussion has been sent to each member. Our goal is to choose challenging scripts that provoke debate, and there is a lot of it in our group. Members read plays at home in advance, and they have the opportunity to read excerpts aloud at our meetings. Because we literally need to be on the same page, we select one particular edition for each play, which can be purchased at the Lenox bookstore or online. In the summer, when the performing arts hopefully gets back to the Berkshires, we try to coordinate the plays we read with onstage productions. So this July, we'll be reading The Niceties by Eleanor Burgess. This is about an explosive disagreement between a white female college professor and her brilliant African-American student, who has written a paper about the connection between the American Revolution and slavery. Arlene Breskin is arranging a theater party and lunch on July the 14th at Hancock Shaker Village, where Chester Theater will be presenting The Niceties in a tent. In August, we'll read Art by Yasmina Reza, which Shakespeare and Company will be producing in the afternoon in their open-air Roman Garden Theater. In this play, 3 male friends find their long-standing relationship at risk when one of them purchases an expensive painting, white on white, which is scorned by the others, which leads to personal attacks on each other, their families, and their lives. Of course, the Performing Arts Initiative of OLLI, which was co-founded by myself, Carol Fisher, and our deceased friend, Nancy Vale, is setting up a theater party for art on August the 18th. Finally, our June play is Oleana by David Mamet. Copies can be found in the Lenox bookstore, and we will meet to begin discussing that play on June the 4th. That's a Friday afternoon from 3 to 5. We welcome your participation in our SIG. Come join us.
Thank you, thank you. Carol, did you
Okay,
have a few words you wanted to add?
Yes, that's so comprehensive. I have very little to add, but first I'd like to say, all these groups sound so interesting. I think I'd like to join some more. So as we are reading through these scripts, we have the opportunity to identify or commiserate, or to identify with or commiserate with the characters as they grapple with societal, familial, or individual challenges and demons. So join us for lively discussions, the beauty of language, the diversity of characters, and journey to unexpected places. All the world's a stage.
Thank you, that's great. Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of want to be a part of every SIG, and there aren't enough hours in the day, unfortunately. The next group is actually 2 SIGs in one, run by Steffi Fletcher, which is poetry reading and poetry writing. And maybe Steffi, and maybe in your little introduction, you can say why you have 2 separate groups for this activity and how that came about. I think I saw you here. Yeah, there you are. So Steffi, over to you.
Yeah, the poetry reading and poetry writing group SIGs started, they were born from the Kate Sontag's OLLI course on the sonnet, where we studied the sonnet forms, the development of the sonnet, and were also encouraged to write responses to a sonnet or to write sonnets of our own. And several of us decided that we really wanted to carry on something, and we couldn't quite agree, should we be reading or should we be writing? And then we realized that there were so many of us that it would be good to divide it up So that's why we have one poetry reading group and one poetry writing group. Now the poetry reading group meets the first Thursday of every month at 6:30. And there we generally, we pick a topic for the next meeting. And for instance, we decided to study Robert Frost or Emily Dickinson. And when we did that, each member of the class would bring in a poem by Robert Frost or Emily Dickinson to read aloud during the meeting and then to discuss. Right now, we are studying modernism, and often one member of the group will do a little research on the topic and present that first. And after that, we read our poems and have the discussion. That's the poetry reading group. The poetry writing group is a little different because we are just focused on writing poetry. And the format is that each member brings a poem and the leader of the group decides in what order the poems will be read. And what we do is we read each poem twice. Once another member of the group will read it, and then the poet himself, herself will read it, because it's interesting to see how somebody else reads your poem. And then there will be a discussion. And this is a very, very flexible group, because some people bring in drafts of a poem and they want suggestions. They want to, on rewriting it, revisions. Other people bring in, the final product. I say, it is very flexible, and we make comments. They are all positive. I mean, we don't believe in, shooting people down. And I myself have been absolutely astonished and really made very happy by the quality of the poems that have been brought in, that people are writing. So usually the format is that one member will read the poem, and then the poet will read, and then the member who read the poem is the one whose poem will be read. It sort of goes around, but the leader of the group may want to change that. We're very flexible, we're very democratic.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Steffi. That sounds wonderful. And you'll be there in the breakout rooms for anybody that has questions about either poetry reading or writing when we finish this general session. Couple more to do. Alan Rubin, I think you're here somewhere. I don't know if you want to talk about briefly about your understanding soccer SIG, because I think that's sort of a multifaceted type of SIG. Are you here, Alan? Hello, Alan here?
I have not seen Alan.
Okay, so maybe what we should do is circle back around and go to Lance to talk about the absolute sound SIG, because he had the misfortune of being first in the alphabet and not at the meeting when we started off. So maybe Lance, you could talk a little bit about the absolute sound SIG, if you're here. Well, in the meantime, while we're waiting for either Lance or Alan to join us, a couple of things I just wanted to say before we go to the breakout rooms as well. You may notice on the list there are a couple of SIGs that are kind of on hiatus, and we're working with with people that are members of that SIG to try and re-stimulate them. The socializing singles has a lot of it's very popular, but I can't find anybody that actually wants to lead that group. So if you know anybody that would like to lead the socializing singles, just let me know. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that the list of SIGs can be infinite. I mean, we've got about a dozen at the moment. and there are all sorts of ideas for new ones. It's really easy to set up a SIG. And if you have any ideas, if you want to do like and there are no real rules. I mean, you know, I've thought about doing a wine tasting SIG or a cooking SIG, or we have a French language SIG. Why not an Italian or a Spanish language conversation SIG? So there are lots of options, and we'd love to work with any of you if you're interested in starting up a SIG or resurrecting a SIG that might have gone on hiatus. And Andy, are you seeing any signs of either Lance or Alan?
I have not seen either one.
Okay.
Monica,
yeah.
Monica, it's Ellen again. I just called Alan and left a message for him on his cell phone. So I'm guessing that he's not available, but I did tell him what we were doing in case he wanted to join.
Okay, thank you so much. I've been emailing him the last couple of days, so it's such a lovely day. It's really hard to focus on being indoors.
And I want you to know I'm charging extra for all this administrative help today, just letting you know.
No, you get to be a SIG co-leader. All right, so Andy, have you got a couple of minutes? You can tell people how the breakout room portion of this meeting is going to be working.
I will do my best. So this is actually a grand experiment for us at OLLI. We've never done breakout rooms like this before. But for each of the shared interest groups that we've talked about, I have set up breakout rooms. So what should happen, if all goes well, is that when I press open all rooms in about 30 seconds, you should see a pop-up on your window, and you'll see the list of the groups. And then when you hover over the name, it should give you the option to join. We shall see what happens.
If somebody wants to move from one group to another, how can they do that?
Correct. Yep. When you go to the bottom of the screen where it says breakout rooms, you should have the option to move to, it should give you the option to move to another room. But for those of you who have done breakout rooms before, where normally we've pre-assigned them randomly and you're stuck in the room, you should now have the option to be able to move from one room to another on your own. So we'll do the best we can to talk you all through all of this. But for all,
Andy and I will be in the lobby, the waiting room, so that if anybody has any problems, just leave your breakout room and come back to the lobby, and we can send you wherever you need to go if you can't, if it doesn't work for you doing it yourself. Does that make sense?
Okay, this is going to be a lifelong learning opportunity for all of us. So if you're ready, Monica, I can open up the room.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so at the bottom of your screen in Zoom, you should now see a little square that says breakout rooms. This should be between live transcript and reactions. And when you open that up, you'll see the list of rooms. To the right, you'll see a number. On most of the screens right now, it says 0, but if you click on that number, it gives you the option to join.
Yay.
There we go.
Yay, it's working.
I'm using a smartphone, so I don't see anything that you're talking about.
I don't see it either.
So who was that? Because I think we can probably move you to whichever room you want.
Okay. My name is Frankie. I came in late, and I do apologize, but I had to pick my granddaughter up from school. So I don't know what the different groups were. I apologize.
No. Well, are you interested? Is there any particular group that you'd like to find out more about that we can move you to?
What were the names of the groups?
Well, I tell you what, if you go to the chat area, can you see the chat area? They're right at the top of the chat. Or if you go to the OLLI website, there is a list of groups. We've got ageism, culture of ageism.
Sorry, Monica, if I can jump in real quick. Frankie, I'm trying this out for the very first time my own self on my iPhone. So in the upper left corner on Zoom, at least on mine, I'm seeing a small series of 4 squares that says join breakout room. Do you see that on your phone?
Yes.
Okay, so when you do that, that should bring you a list of the breakout rooms that we have available. And you should just be able to click one of those and select join, and I hope that works. I'm learning by doing my own self here.
You said the top left corner, all I see is the recording red button.
Directly underneath that, at least on my phone, I'm seeing 4 squares. I don't know if this is going to show up on camera or not.
Okay, no, I don't see that on my phone.
Do you have an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
All right. So we're learning by doing.
I see it now. I just touched the screen to see if it would. Oh, it went away. All right, it says join breakout room.
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
If you tap join breakout room.
Come on. Oh, okay. All right. Happy hookers.
Oh,
Hi, Barbara.
hello.
The bottom of my screen just says breakout rooms, and I see all the breakout rooms and people who are joining them, but I don't know how to actually join, because there's nothing that says join either on the top left
That'll be if you hover over the name. So for example, where it says French conversations, you'll see a number that will say, I think right now it says 3. So if you click on where it says 3, that should say join.
Yep, got it. If I hover, I see it. Thank you.
Okay. And for those of you who have been accessing the recording later, unfortunately, we're not able to record the breakout rooms portion. So thank you for your interest in the shared interest groups. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us at olliberkshire.ccu. It's been a long day. Feel free to email us, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording at this moment.
Okay.
Don't forget Alan.
Yep. And before we wind up, I wanted to go right back full circle and introduce Alan Robin, who wants to talk a little bit about his understanding soccer SIG. We had some miscommunications on timing. So Alan, I don't know if you want to spend a couple of minutes talking about your SIG, and then Bruce is going to wind things up for us and tell you what next steps to take if you're interested in anything. So Alan, over to you. You need to unmute.
We can't hear you, Alan.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. Basically, I'll go into why soccer is the most popular sport in the world, why Americans initially didn't care for it, but why the population of the United States is becoming more and more aware of soccer. We'll go into issues happening around the world, such as racism, corruption, some of the more powerful European teams trying to start a super league so they could control all the money. And there was such a backlash from the fans that they had to back down. So it shows you that you can't, more so than I think American sports fans, they're very vocal about when things are not the way they seem. And one of the things that I find that makes soccer so interesting is the tradition of relegation. That's where at the end of the season, the team in the bottom 3 teams in the top league goes to the next lower league. All other leagues have the top 3 teams go up and the bottom 3 teams go down. What happens in American sports is many times halfway through the season, 3/4 of the teams are out of the race and a lot of the games don't mean much. In a soccer season, a game between 2 last place teams can affect who makes it up and who makes it down. So it keeps excitement going throughout to the very last game of the season. And that's a quick summary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you have questions for Alan, again, there is a link on the website in the Understanding Soccer SIG that'll give you a way of contacting him. And now I'm going to hand over to my co-conspirator, Bruce Cohen, to wrap things up for us and send you all on your way. Thank you all for joining us today. It's been great. Over to you, Bruce.
Yeah, hey, everybody. This has really been great. I'm so excited that, 50 plus people attended. I've long thought that, and one of my best experiences within OLLI have been the SIGs that I participated in. It's glad to see that they seem to be expanding and there's a lot of interest. In order to find out more about a SIG or to join a SIG, you just have to go to the website and get the information about that SIG. I've actually received 5 requests in the last week or so regarding the Mystery, Mayhem, and Murder SIG, and I've responded to them and put those people on the mailing list. So if you're interested, go to the website, OLLI website, and get the information you need and reach out. It certainly, in my mind, would be worth attending one meeting to make sure that you really like it. You can always drop out, but my view is these are pretty engaging, and I'd be surprised if once you join that you'll want to drop out, because there's an awful lot of interesting people here in the Berkshires.
Thank you. Thank you all. Hope to see you all soon, either à la française or wherever. And thank you all for giving up your time on this beautiful afternoon. And you can go back outside and romp in the sun some more, and hope to see you again at some OLLI event and some of our SIGs. Thank you so much.
Monica.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Monica, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Monica. It's Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you.